Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over frost, but still got a knock.
Money! Jerry, does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks are here for Super Wildcard Weekend. All 6 games they picked in a minute. Join me today to do that. Somebody whose team I thought would be in Super Wildcard Weekend. We'll get to why they are in a minute. Dan DeMartini is here. Dan, how are you?
If I had a paper bag that I could put over my head, I absolutely would. But I feel like instead I'll just pick the games and move on and start looking at the NFL draft.
Yeah.
That's the best way for me to think right now.
Yeah, and sadly, you don't even have the bank for the first round pick. That went to the Eagles.
Yeah, and obviously our third rounder as well, we flopped. So, we're in an interesting spot. There's a lot of talk right now kind of on the Colts media front and Colts Twitter and what people want and what they want to do. The hardest thing for us is to be in the NFL like a 9-8 team. What do you need to fix? Your Pro Bowlers didn't play like Pro Bowlers the last 2 weeks of the year. The only one that gets an excuse is DeForest Buckner because he was hurt. Everybody else, I don't understand what happened. And you know what I'm waiting for, Mike, is I'm waiting for some sort of an insider story or somebody to leak information that there was a fight in the locker room. Somebody said something about Wentz or the vaccination thing divided the team. I want to know what was really going on because those guys, I don't know what team that was, but that was not the Indianapolis Colts for the last 7 weeks of the year, what I saw on Sunday in person. So I have no clue what's going on.
Yeah, we'll get to the Colts in a minute. I want to continue the through line of the show here because as we went earlier, we had Justin Diaz on the open, good friend of ours, last night, talked about the Joe Judge situation with the Giants. They're pivotal 40 hours. He's still the coach. I talked to Joe D this morning, did a little football talk. Joe Judge is still the coach. But a couple hours before we got on the air, Joe Judge has since been fired by the New York Giants, and they have said that the new GM is going to hire their new coach. So, Dan, I feel like it was the appropriate ending to this. I'm surprised it took them that long to reach the correct conclusion.
You have to wonder why the move wasn't made simultaneously. I guess it was maybe whatever ounce of respect the Maras had for Gettleman to quote unquote retire and make that as a standalone thing. But it just seems so bizarre. I don't understand what's going on there in New York, but maybe they're just very comfortable with their recent Super Bowl or recent Super Bowl success, and I guess in our lifetime. And they're just not interested in being a great team again because you can't keep changing your head coach and your GM every few years and think that, it's going to just magically work. You've got to start building the right New York Giant football way and go back to the days of building a stout defense and focus on a running game and go from there because, they have Saquon Barkley, but when was the last time everybody thought Saquon Barkley was a huge threat, and I know injuries aside, but the team wasn't built for that. So they need to get back to the way that they had success in the thousands and in the 90s, 80s and 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right now I want to go back to your Colts here because obviously we booked the show ahead of time. I look at the schedule, week 17. I see, okay, Colts are playing Jacksonville. Sure, they haven't won there since 2014, but you know what? The Jaguars stink. They just watched the Jets beat them. They're going to the playoffs. We'll get Dan on here for the wildcard round. The Colts are playing somebody. Instead, we get a 26-11 loss. Steelers win in overtime. Colts are knocked out. You were there. What did you see?
I saw total lack of effort. The sidelines looked dead. The offensive line, they weren't even yelling at each other. Every time that they would get stuffed or 3 and out or whatever it was, they would just go back and sit and they looked like they were enjoying the 82-degree day. It was a beautiful day on Sunday and maybe they were, starting to think it was vacation already, but everybody in the world knows I have lived in Florida for 7 years now and I've gone to the Colts game 6 times. I have not seen them win here. And I will continue to go to the game until they prove. I don't care. I'm not the curse. The curse that is their attitude when they get to Florida because they think it's vacation time. And it's just, it's looked this way for years. Different players, different coaches. It's the same thing every single time. And I just don't understand. You have to start changing the way you play defense. And I think if we had stopped them on that first drive, say what you want, the offense didn't score till late in the second half, really, other than the field goal in the first half. But the defense letting Trevor Lawrence go 9 of 9 for like 90 yards and a score right off the bat. Like, come on, man. He hadn't thrown a touchdown pass since October. And yet you make it look like he's been doing it the whole season. He looked like Aaron Rodgers is what it looked like. It was scary. We literally were just like dropping back and saying, go ahead, throw it to this guy. Nope. You want to throw it over the middle? Come on in, like, oh, you want to throw it over our heads? We'll just watch. It was ridiculous. So I have to tell you, I don't know whether to blame Chris Ballard. I don't know if it's Frank Reich, Matt Eberflus. I personally, if I was making the decision, if I was Jim Irsay right now, I'm not mad with Chris Ballard. They clearly, you have 7 Pro Bowlers. You're drafting and acquiring the right guys. Frank Reich, I would prefer if Frank started to, I don't know if he's meant to be the head coach of this team. I love what he does with the offense, and I love his play calling, and I love that he always goes on fourth. But I just don't know. He feels so disconnected from the defensive side of things, and Matt Eberflus needs to go. Like, I'm sorry, this whole, we're going to play with speed and edge. Whenever he blitzes, it's the most predictable blitz. Like, the other team picks it up easy, and the quarterback has all day. Like, he doesn't show anything exotic. He relies on pass rush, so he plays these soft coverages and hoping that the pass rush will get there and then force them into these bad throws. But our guys are not built to guard, other opposing teams' bigger, stronger receivers. We have tiny corners other than Rock Ya-Sin. And it's just the back end of the defense doesn't match the production of the front end. And maybe that is a Chris Ballard thing. I don't know. But, we don't get to the quarterback ever. And the other teams, I just couldn't believe how easy it was for Jacksonville to get to Carson Wentz. Everybody wants to blame Carson Wentz. Do I love Carson Wentz as my quarterback? No. But we have seen teams have success in the playoffs and in Jared Goff made it to a Super Bowl, right? Like, so, Carson Wentz can get there too. I just don't understand why the offensive line played so poorly. And why everybody wants to point the finger directly there. I saw a team that was not ready to play. Other than T.Y. Hilton, he was probably the only guy I saw that was ready to play on Sunday. And that makes me think that it's a coaching thing.
All right, well, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. But I do have to talk about Carson Wentz because obviously, like, he had the stretch that helped basically turn this game to a close one to a Jaguar blowout when they come out of the second half and he gets sacked. He loses the ball on the sack there, gets fumbled. He throws the big pick later on, leads to more Jaguar points here. And Carson Wentz did not play well against the Raiders either the week before. And I know he's coming off the COVID list. He hadn't practiced all week. But at the same time, like, he's had issues in Philly. He's had issues here. Like, what's the concern level here with Carson Wentz?
Yeah, he can't win you the big game. And that's really what comes down to. I know that he can go out on any given week and be great. Maybe he just needs to, build and feel comfortable and have a team invest in him in the long term. I feel like ever after his second season in Philadelphia, people were starting to question him. And now that he's in Indianapolis, I think he's still haunted by the fact that he is so desperate to make everybody happy. He's a nice guy. He's got a sweet family, as we saw on Hard Knocks. I know he's a talented football player and he looks like a starting quarterback. But, the stuff that's in here, between the ears, he looked panicked. He looked nervous. He acted like cool and comfortable on the sidelines. Like he was warming up and he was like throwing little sidearm things. And he looked it, but then we get on the field and he was absolutely terrified. He didn't look calm. Trevor Lawrence looked like a 10-year vet. Like he was dropping back, going through progressions, throwing strikes, going downfield, fist pumping. Carson Wentz looked like, oh my God, we can go to the playoffs. If I just make this pass, it's going to go great. It was a nightmare. He looked skitsy and and then obviously I personally, if I had to rank in order what was wrong, offensive line, every single one of them, I wanted to see if it was actually Quentin Nelson down there it wasn't like an imposter because he didn't do anything. He didn't create a single hole. They ran behind him in the whole first half. I think Jonathan Taylor rushed for like 18 yards. It was awful. So, I'm sorry. Carson Wentz is a problem, but he's not the problem.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hard Knocks, because obviously they've been following the Colts this whole way through, and now, like, you get this finale on Wednesday, tomorrow night, and you're going to get a nice little deep dive into what actually went wrong on that side, which is a rare opportunity, because it's not something in the NFL, whereas most teams, like, if you have this kind of epic collapse, they're gone, their baggies are picked up, and you don't see them again until July or August, and here you're getting a nice little backdoor look into what went wrong in Jacksonville. You can see all the behind-the-scenes stuff. I
very much want to see how they prepared. I want Hard Knocks to show as much footage as possible, how seriously they were practicing, what the game plan was. I want to see what the attitude of the players were. Were they focused, or were they just sitting back like, oh, we're just going to run over this team because they just lost by 40? I want answers, and I don't need them to say things. I want to read body language. Yeah. And, I want to know who was holding each other accountable. Apparently there's a photo of TY, and he was laughing late in the fourth quarter, sitting on the bench. I think Darius Leonard, after he got that, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, was clapping and clearly not, focused on doing the right thing in the moment. And I just want to see like the shattered faces. I'm curious, are they going to make this episode to be like this somber, drawn out thing, or are we going to get to see a little bit of fire of what just happened in the locker room afterwards? Because I'm assuming you could hear a pin drop. If it's normal, what they show us from the locker room, I'm going to be upset. If like the guys are just like, oh, well, we blew it, whatever. I am going to be so mad. You
also figure, too, that at that point the Steelers are still playing. They're going to overtime. So you might have people in the locker room watching that Steeler game and then get immediate reaction afterwards, too.
Everybody, like, I hate to say this, I woke up Sunday morning and I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be a really, really close game. I didn't think we were going to get blown out, but there was a chance. There's a reason why they call them the cardiac Colts, right? Like, they do this stuff all the time. They blow leads. Look at what they did against the Ravens earlier this year. We had a 23-3 lead in the second half and we ended up losing, so nothing is ever safe with these Colts. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if that's a personnel thing, but this didn't totally shock me. And to be perfectly honest, I'm really, really curious to see what Hard Knocks shows.
Yeah, well, we'll find out tomorrow night when they air that episode, the season finale of Hard Knocks in season. Hopefully the Colts collapse here doesn't dissuade other teams from doing this next year. This was a fun season to follow them.
Yeah, talk about storylines, ups and downs. This is a team who beat the Patriots, the Bills, and the Cardinals in the latter half in December, and then lost to the Raiders and lost to the Jags to miss the playoffs. Explain to me the NFL. I don't understand how it works. You just beat three of the best teams in the NFL and lost it to, one decent team and one horrendous team. So I don't understand.
Yeah, two teams, on interim head coaches as well. That's also strange.
Right? Like, and missing key components of their team. Yeah. Like, really good players. Yeah. And we lost to both. And one, we lost at home. So, anyway.
All right. That's the Colts. But now we're going to get to the picks, which is the reason why you're here. The regular season ended. Our pal Christopher Russo, the host of the Sports and Waiting Room podcast, he came here last week. He went 1-2 on the week. His win was the Raiders +3 on Sunday night in that wild game against the Chargers. He got that one right. He took the points with the Jets. He got 16.5. They lost by 17, so a bad beat for him. He had the Bengals, too, against the Browns, and obviously we picked, unfortunately, for Joe Mixon got ruled out for COVID, and they ruled Burrow out, so he didn't really have a chance there.
Oh, yeah, totally. But,
Yeah, I had a better week. I went 2-1. I had the Dolphins +7 over the Patriots. They won outright and then fired Flores, which is extremely dumb in my part, on my book, but go whatever. I had the Bucks laying the 8 against the Panthers. They ran away with that game. I had the Cardinals laying the 6.5. I lost that one, so 2-1 to end the regular season for me.
Hey, and what was the overall season record for you?
Yeah, overall season records, Team Challenge was 22-30-2, so not a good year for them. I went 29-24-1. I got hot down the stretch, so...
Yeah, good for you. You're like the new Schwami.
Yeah. I was hovering around 500 for a bit, so this is probably the best run I've had. I think about 4 or 5 2-1s in a row to basically close the season out.
Well, good for you. Good for you. And it's it's not easy. It's really not easy. As you can see, I mean, the Colts were like a 15.5-point favorite and they lost by a lot.
Yeah.
So not easy to pick the NFL.
Yeah. Once I saw the stat, I'm in a pool also where I have to pick every game every week. Once I saw the stat about the Colts have not won there since 2014, I took the points with the Jaguars in that game.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. Because I figured the Colts will keep this much more close than I thought they would, and they ended up losing. So,
yeah.
All right. Now we're going to go to the fun here, a super wild card weekend. We're going to pick all 6 games of the weekend. So we're going to go one at a time here. We're going to start at the top. We're going to go to Saturday afternoon on 4:30 p.m. on NBC. The red-hot Las Vegas Raiders, winners of 4 straight, hit the road, take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Bengals are favored by 6. Who are you taking this game, Dan?
You know, I'm actually going to take the Bengals. I've watched them for the last few weeks, and I think that they're a team that is they're not going to lose to a team that doesn't have some sort of like top veteran presence. And I know that, like, obviously Las Vegas has had a good couple weeks and they're going to get Darren Waller back. But I also just don't know if that's the team that's going to, like, win a playoff game. I think that they're a nice story, but I think it comes to an end. I think the Bengals just have way too much momentum on offense. I mean, I have to say, is there a better wide receiver trio in the NFL? I mean, they have so many weapons. And all of a sudden, I mean, this is a serious team that, like, I think that they can go toe to toe with Kansas City and any other high-powered offense in the league. So I'm going to go and I'm going to give up the 5.5.
Yeah, I have it at 6. I'm going to go heads up, but they're going to wait. I'm going to take the points of the Raiders here. I think there's a little magic going on here. I mean, they went 4 in a row. The Bills was emotional last week. I know the turnaround is tough, going from that emotional Sunday game, flying across the country and playing the early Saturday game, but I think 6 is too many in this game. I think this is going to be a field goal game either way. I can see the Bengals winning it, but Cincinnati's not showing me enough yet to make me convinced that they're going to be up in this big spot, be able to handle the emotion of a playoff game and win by more than a touchdown. So I'm going to take the points of the Raiders here.
Okay, I can see that too. I just have this game as I don't see any way that the Bengals don't score at least 4 touchdowns. And I don't know if the Raiders are going to be able to get, more than 2. So that's the only reason why I'm comfortable spotting a touchdown.
All right, next up here, Patriots at the Bills, AFC East grudge match, 3rd time split the season series, Saturday, 8:15 CBS. Bills laying 4.5 points. Dan, who are you taking?
Yeah, I got to take the Patriots. I mean, I want the Bills to win that game. I really do, because I hate the Patriots. But to be getting points to Bill Belichick in the playoffs, you can't tell me that he showed all of his potential looks. It almost doesn't it feel like Bill Belichick to like lose to them in the regular season and then come out and just completely dominate them with some crazy defensive scheme or pressure or something and just crush Bills fans' dreams. Like, that is the Belichick that, like, I remember. The Patriots obviously kind of stumbled at the end of the regular season and then losing to the Dolphins and whatnot, but I'm still looking at that team. I watched them play the Colts. They're pretty nasty. Like, I'm comfortable with getting more than a field goal points with Bill Belichick coaching on that sideline.
Yeah, this is the toughest game of the week for me to pick because, again, the weather is a factor here. If the weather turns nasty, it's a big Patriot edge, but I'm going to trust what I've been seeing the last week. I'm going to lay the points of the Bills. I do not like how New England's played down the stretch. They've lost 3 out of 4. Mac Jones has looked rough in these games here. It's also his first NFL playoff game, something you hadn't seen before. Bills have that playoff experience. I think they're going to come out here and they're going to win this game by a touchdown. I think the Bills will find a way to get it done. I'm going to lay the points. I'm going to heads up again.
Oh, I can see it going that way. And honestly, I actually hope it goes that way. So, but you can't pick against Bill Belichick. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
All right, next up, Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox. Eagles at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers reigning champs, 8.5-point favorites. Dan, who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, this is an easy one for me. If I'm wrong, whatever. But the Buccaneers are I'm happy to take the Bucs, lay the points. To be perfectly honest, I think I looked, and the Eagles only beat one team this year with a winning record, and that was the Saints. So, and they're not in the playoffs. So if you look at all of their 9 wins or whatever it was, they beat a bunch of garbage teams, including the Giants and the Redskins twice. So I'm sorry, like the Buccaneers, this is what they do. I would equate the toughness of what they faced with the Panthers, pretty similar to what the Eagles would show. So, and the Buccaneers, no matter what the Antonio Brown situation is or injuries, it's Tom Brady. They're going to be ready. There's no way Tom Brady doesn't, kind of come out here and lay at least 2 touchdowns against the Eagles in terms of a difference in score.
Yeah, I'm with you right there. I'm laying the points too. And again, the Eagles right now are one-trick pony. They love to run the football. I think they run it more than anybody in the playoffs right now. And Tampa's strength is stopping the runs. That's not a good combination there.
No, I watched. Tampa was so good against Jonathan Taylor earlier this year. And, the Eagles are going to – Jalen Hurts is going to have to throw into some tight windows, and he's going to be on the run. And I don't know what the weather is supposed to be. I'm assuming it's going to be beautiful down there. But, I don't think he's training in cold weather, and now he's got to come and go into it's still 85 degrees in Florida every day. So we'll see how he can handle that. And, I think that place will be way up for that game.
Absolutely. Next up here, 49ers and the Cowboys, Sunday, 4:30, CBS, the Nickelodeon special. The Cowboys laying 3 points at home, probably the tightest game of the week. Where are you going with here?
That's really interesting. I had a hard time with this one because everybody clearly watched what Dak did and that, they looked really, really good. And, but isn't it perfectly Cowboy to come out here and struggle in a playoff game? Like, the glitz and glam of being at home, Jerry's World, that whole thing. I have been quietly believing in the 49ers the whole year. They still have the personnel, and they have a couple of amazing skill position players. Garoppolo has to come out and not be the problem. He cannot turn the ball over. They have to be efficient. They got to give the ball to, quickly out to their wide receivers and use their whole stable of running backs. I think 49ers have the defensive will to stop what the Cowboys are going to put out and show Dak some interesting looks. And I believe a little bit more in Kyle Shanahan at this point in time than Mike McCarthy. So, especially with Mike McCarthy's inability to coach like a professional head coach.
Yeah. All right. So you're taking the 49ers, correct?
Correct. I'm going to take the 3 points.
Yeah, we'll go heads up again. I'm going to take the Cowboys laying the 3 at home. I think the number, I like it. And I think for me, I like this Dallas team. I think their defense is the difference here. I think their defense will be up for this game. I think they're going to give the 49ers problems. I know San Francisco is physical. That's a big worry here. But I like what Dallas has done. I think Dallas has more firepower than me. That's going to be the difference in this game.
Yeah, no, and I'm really curious because the 49ers fought tooth and nail through the NFC West to get to the playoffs. I'd be really surprised if they came out flat. So I'm hoping it's a really close game and maybe it is just a field goal.
All right, next up here, Sunday night on NBC, the Steelers at the Chiefs. Chiefs' biggest line of the week, laying 12.5 points. Are you going to lay the number?
Well, here's where I'm at. And to be perfectly honest, my girlfriend's a huge Steelers fan. And I just and I want the Steelers to do well. It just, doesn't it breathe just like Kansas City coming out and, Big Ben's going to have a great game and it's going to be cool to get to watch him play, one last playoff game. But there's just no way Kansas City, they have been so good the last few weeks. And I'm going to give up the 12.5. Is that what you have it at?
Yep.
12.5? Yeah, I'm going to give up the 12.5. I think it's at least a touchdown and 2 field goals difference, if not considerably more.
I'm doing the same thing as you. These teams met 3 weeks ago. Kansas City won 36-10. I don't see what's changed. It basically cut that down significantly.
Yeah, and once again, I just think that the Steelers don't have the ability to play from behind. So, you're telling me the Steelers are going to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes. I mean, good luck. It's the best way I could put it. So, I just, if the Steelers get down early, there's no way they can catch them. They are a get Najee Harris the ball in 50 different ways, but they kind of, get 3 yards here, 6 yards here, 4 yards here. And all of a sudden that's just not going to work with the clock going if Patrick Mahomes throws one pass, 60 yards for a score. So I think that they just don't match up to, unless TJ Watt just plays like an absolute beast. I'm comfortable giving the points.
All right, last game of the week, Monday night, first Monday night playoff game ever. The Cardinals at the Rams, 8:15, ABC, ESPN, Manningcast on ESPN2. Rams laying 4. Where are you going with this last game?
Yeah, and that's going to be fun. I'm going to watch the Manning cast because it's so strange. It almost makes it feel like not the playoffs to have it on Monday night. But anyway, I'm comfortable with the Cardinals. I'm going to take the 4 points. And here's why. I did my research on the Cardinals when they played the Colts a few weeks ago, and I kind of realized what they faced from a COVID and from an injury standpoint. And I think a big factor is, DeAndre Hopkins and his, they're trying to like wean him back from this injury. I just don't believe in the Rams. I know that they're going to come out really, really hot, but I have a feeling that, if you look at what they've done against each other this year, obviously the Cardinals taking one and Rams taking the other. And I think Arizona is going to come out. That'll be the surprise upset of the weekend, if there is going to be any. I'm comfortable saying that, what their division, it's going to feel like, still a regular season game because we've seen these teams get to play twice now and they're very evenly matched. So I'm just curious somebody's going to have to make a big play, and I think it's going to be Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I'm going to go there with you. I'm going to take the points of the Cardinals, my last pick of the week here. I mean, Arizona's a great road team. They're 8-1 on the road. They are not successful at home. Let's help them out here. They won in LA earlier this year, and the Rams looked off a little bit last week. I don't know what it was. They struggled against Baltimore a week before that. They're trending the wrong direction as the playoffs start here, and I'm getting more than a field goal. So I'm going to take the points with you. I'm going to take the Cardinals.
Yeah, there's no run game and right now, and it just doesn't seem to be in sync. Like their passes are predictable, their runs are predictable. They don't really have anything dynamic in the backfield, so that's putting a lot of pressure on Stafford. And to be perfectly honest, Cooper Kupp's going to be double teamed the whole time, so somebody else has to make a play, and we'll see what happens. But I feel more comfortable with the Cardinals and their kind of carefree attitude. It's also, J.J. Watt and a lot of those veterans that went to the Cardinals specifically to win a playoff game. I feel like they had quieter years. I feel like some of those guys are going to show themselves this week.
All right, so to reset what happened this week, on the games here, Dan's picks, he is going with the Bengals laying the 6, the Patriots plus 4.5, the Bucks laying the 8.5, the 49ers plus 3, the Chiefs minus 12.5, and the Cardinals plus 4 on Monday. I'm going heads up on the rate with the Raiders plus 6, heads up with the Bills minus 4.5. We're going along on the family play with the Bucks minus 8.5, heads up on the Cowboys minus 3, and then family plays Chiefs minus 12.5, Cardinals plus 4. And those are your picks for Super Wildcard Weekend. Come next weekend for the divisional round. I'm going to be joined by the great John Stanko. Talk about his Patriots-Bills matchup, and if they advance, talk about who they're playing next. It's certainly going to be a lot of fun going forward here. Dan, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, people want to follow you on the social media streets. How can they do that?
Yeah, so absolutely. On Twitter at DMart207. And, once again, I'll probably do what I normally do, and I start getting really active on Twitter once the season, probably a little bit right after the Super Bowl. I'm more of a draft, mock draft, and then kind of an off-season tweeter. So, and I also will be getting excited about baseball coming back too. So, but yeah, that's the best way to follow me. Yeah, well, baseball's still in the lockout, so hopefully they get this thing figured out soon. Yeah. I know. You have to assume they're gonna. Yeah. I mean, I'm operating on the assumption the spring training's gonna be delayed. If they miss games, that's gonna be a problem. Yeah. I mean, sponsors and the way that sports business works. I mean, somebody's going to push this over the line. There's too much money on line for the players and for the owners and for these teams in general. So, and too many people's jobs at risk. Like, they're going to figure this thing out. Yeah, they will. And are you going to live tweet the Hard Knocks finale? I feel like I should. I don't know if I'm going to watch it right away. There's a guy that I follow, Kevin Bowen, who is on the morning show, local morning show, and I listen to his podcast every Monday that he puts it out. And I'm going to read his tweets while it's going on or right after it's over. And he was on his podcast and he was talking about what his expectations were for Hard Knocks and whether or not a lot of Colts fans are not going to watch it. Yeah, I tell you, there's a lot of Colts fans that think they're just going to pass on it. It's too hard to relive and go through again. Imagine just like going from like, we're ready to win a Super Bowl to we lost to Jacksonville by 20 or whatever it was. Like there's a lot of Colts fans that won't, and I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it just yet.
Yeah. Well, I will watch it. I'll let you know if they give you what you were looking for in there.
Yeah, I might wait and watch it like right before next preseason starts as motivation here.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.